you started as a professional musician as a trombone player and euphonium player.
Right.
So could you tell me, when did you realize that you want to more compose the music, not just only play it?
It wasn't until I actually started as a musician, as a player, you know, in a local band. As a young boy, I played the trumpet. From playing came that I started to arrange first, and I had no idea that I would be a composer. I just started to do it for fun, and then I started conducting. You know, I had to sometimes rehearse my own arrangements, and then I realized, yeah, maybe I should also write my own music instead of arranging, and that's how it started. It was early '80s.
A large part of your music is written for wind orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
That is slightly interesting regarding other composers. So, what draws you close to this ensemble? Is it something that it can do more than symphony orchestra?
Well, as I said, I started to play in a wind orchestra, and I fell in love with it from the first moment on. And I discovered the amazing possibilities that you have, and the repertoire in the '80s wasn't that interesting. You know, there was a lot of transcriptions, and so I decided to write something big, and I started to write my first symphony, The Lord of the Rings, which became a huge hit, and which shows that you can do much more with a wind orchestra than just play marches or polkas and all that. That's what still a lot of people think. You know, they associate a wind orchestra with a band, and they only drink beer and play, you know, volksmuziek. But that's not the case. I mean, nowadays, and I just came back from Kerkrade in Holland, where is the World Music Contest every 4 years, and I mean the level is absolutely amazing. I mean, every orchestra I heard sounded like professionals, and they're amateurs. And they play the most difficult repertoire, you know. So yeah, I've been advocating this now for like almost 50 years, you know. And I'm still a pioneer, I think, in the wind orchestra, to make it as interesting and as artistically appreciated like the symphony orchestra. And it's getting there, but there's still a lot to do.
How it is conducting your own music? How much you give in the interpretation with the orchestra, with the musicians you haven't met before, you haven't played together? So how is this worked?
I try to say not too much. I try to, with my gestures and tempo, I try to show what I want to hear. And sometimes you have to ask it. You have to talk and say, can this be a little shorter, a little louder, etc. But yeah, I like to conduct my own work because, you know, it's also nice for the musicians to work for the guy who came up with those melodies and all that. It gives an extra dimension, I think, and a motivation also for the orchestra.
Now a little about the inspiration. Your pieces are inspired by books, by some historical events, images and places. So
paintings.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
How do you transform this idea out from this? Outside from the music, so the music doesn't get illustrative of the thing, but it is on its own. Well,
the majority of my work have a title and a program, you know, like programmatic works, like Lord of the Rings, Big Apple, Planet Earth, Wind in the Willows is a book, Dutch Master Suites are paintings, and I like it because it sort of triggers the fantasy of the listener. I mean, if you just call it Symphony Number 1. I don't think the piece would have been so popular if I didn't call it Lord of the Rings, because a lot of people associate it with the books of Tolkien, and I create the images of Gandalf and Gollum and the hobbits on stage, you know. This was way before the film came out, of course, in 2000, and my symphony was premiered in 1988. So yeah, I like to create images with my music, and if it's just called Symphony Number 1, then it's abstract, you know, and there's nothing to illustrate.
So does the audience need to be familiarized with these pieces, with these stories?
Not necessarily. Of course, it helps when they know where it's about. But it's like, you know, Music should speak for itself. You look at well, there's no painting here, but if you look at the painting and you don't see a very contemporary painting, you don't really know what the artist means. I don't think it makes sense to go read what it says and then, oh yeah, now I understand. No, music should explain itself, I think. And I've written works that have no program, you know, like the trombone concerto we're playing is called T-bone concerto. It's kind of a joke because the movements are called rare, medium, well done. But other than that, it has no program. It just has a funny name. The T-bone, a bone, in America we call the bones, the trombones, we call bones, you know. So T-bone, trombone. And that's just music. That's just an ode to the instrument, which was my instrument too. And so that I'm not creating images, I'm just creating beautiful sounds. And that's a different approach than programmatic music.
You already mentioned a bit of this contemporary art altogether. So what would you say about the contemporary music in general in these ages? Is it getting more detached from the audience?
No, I don't think so. It was worse in the 80s and in the 90s. A lot of composers go back to tonality. And it was strange because when I wrote Lord of the Rings, a lot of people said, it's tonal, you know, it's not interesting, you know, it's not renewing. Well, I think it was renewing by ways of orchestration and all that. So, but the mentality was different in the 80s and the 90s. And when I was a player, I played in a contemporary group called the Volharding, which is the Perseverance. It was a very contemporary group founded by Louis Andriessen, the Dutch composer, one of the most prominent composers of our time. He just passed away, by the way. And in those days, the music was very, very contemporary. I played more than 300 premieres of new works that were especially written for this ensemble. And I must say, some of them I didn't like at all because it was just, it didn't make sense. I couldn't discover any form or even emotion, you know. It was cold, but there was also some very good modern pieces. And nowadays, in the orchestral world in particular, it's getting more and more tonal. It's interesting. You know, all the 12 tones stuff and that really abstract music is not popular anymore. Like Boulez and all that, you know, and Stockhausen. So, which I think is a good development, you know. Music should have some emotions and should do something to you and be a pleasure to listen to.
You've been a composer for many decades now. As you mentioned already, you've seen 80s, 90s, and so on. Still, compared to that, what is maybe something left there that you would like to still discover, still learn about the music?
Ooh, interesting. I don't know. I keep writing, you know, one piece after another. Although I'm not very fast, but I just decided to write a sixth symphony. It was actually a request from Japan. They really wanted for their anniversary in 29, and they asked, "No, we want a symphony, not a piece. No, we want your sixth symphony." Okay, it's good to have a little push, you know, and a deadline. So, because I wasn't planning on it, but now I have to, and that's okay. I like to be challenged. But I just finished two major works: one for trumpet concerto, which premiered last week in Holland, and I just finished a piece for 4 saxophones and wind orchestra, a quartet. And now I'm working on English horn concerto, which is quite unique because there are no English horn concertos. So that's another challenge for me to write something beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Okay.